Clevatess, episode 10, Margo and Drel. We finally get some backstory. Let's talk about it. Welcome back, you variants. So we are talking about Clevatess episode 10, Margo and Drel, and this is where we find out more about what's going on with Drel and kind of how he got his name. So let's get into it. All right, so we see that Gart has arrived at the Clevatess ball, the big red orb that's sitting there, and sees Clevatess trapped inside and attacks it, attempts to try and break it open. He's trying to figure out what's going on. He gives it kind of like a swift kick. And during that process, as he's trying to figure out what to do, we see Rhodes walk up. Rhodes walks up, speaks to Gart and asks him to take him to Drel because he knows Drel is going to, go on attacking and handling business. And Gart says, I don't know why. Like, why you want to go and lose to him again? Like, I have pretty good eyesight. I saw you lose. Like, I saw you get beat, and you want to go and get beat again? What's the deal? Why do you want to attack again? He's like, there's too many things that can happen. Like, we want this world to survive. We want to, we got to stop him. And basically, he ends up kind of mentioning magic. He's like, you kind of flew in. You're like, your magic's got to be amazing. You know that. So they're kind of talking about magic, and Gart starts to pick up on it, and he sees that this is kind of some of the stuff that Zalthier was talking about, where humans are kind of dabbling in stuff that they don't really understand and all the kind of magic stuff. And he sees that magic can kind of be used for anything that can't really be explained. So it kind of gives some kind of free pass to kind of do things more out in the open. If you just say it's magic, they'll believe that it's magic. But he also wants to investigate more to kind of find out what's going on because, again, he's loyal to Zalthier and wants to figure out what's going on. And he decides to use the humans like Clint is using the humans that he has found, because Clint is also a servant of the Dark Lord of Beasts. Remember? So, he says he agrees under two conditions. One, he helps him when he gets there. Don't, don't be trying to run off or do anything. Like, you help me when we get there, and don't ask any questions about me or, whatever about me. That's it. He's like, you agree those two conditions, we're good. And Rhodes is like, hey, if I break them, he's like, yeah, I'll take you out. He's like, all right, well, I have honor, freaking, so my life is yours to do as you wish if I break those freaking rules. So let's have at it. So Gart, bam, breaks out his wings, still in human form, just breaks out his wings and proceeds to fly them to Hyderat and to figure out what's going on. Then we have the intro freaking kind of hit, and we see Clint and Nelleru who are investigating the forge, trying to figure out what's going on. They set Luna on a forge, trying to figure out how to open it because it's not really opening. Luna decides, well, since I'm sitting here, I might as well take a poop. So Nelleru starts to take care of that while Clint goes up top to the chimney, to the furnaces, like the exhaust and stuff like that, and decides to jump down in there. And sees that it's really, really hot, but he uses the shadows to kind of get down there and start to investigate what's going on. And he knows that this is no ordinary heat. Like, this is like super hot for a reason because of how this magical furnace works. So while he's figuring it out, he's trying to see what's going on, and he sees that Nelleru, the door is open, and Nelleru is knocked out on the ground because Nelleru has a little surprise moment, like, and then bam, she's knocked out. We don't see what knocks her out, but we end up seeing it now because the king is alive, for lack of a better term. The king is there, headless, holding his head and holding Luna hostage, more or less. And Clan's like, okay, I don't know what this is about, but we got to fix this problem. Because you remember, something blew, and we saw the king's body and where it was sitting, and something kind of twitched over there. I think it was more or less like the flowers that were around the thing, but something kind of woke him up, I guess, or whatever. So we leave that and we go to Alicia and Drel. And Alicia is fighting Drel, and Drel is knocking her around town, like, not playing no games. Tala attempts to assist and fails, like not getting undone. And Drell's whooping their butts. So he's like, you're kind of fighting like your father, but I taught him everything that he knows. So all these moves you're using is stuff that I taught him. So she's able to get countered every time she tries something new. Counter, counter, counter. She cannot get anything done. With that being said, Drell decides to go into a flashback sequence. Like, let's talk about Margo, which is her father. And we find out that there was an arena fight for the first regalia that had been produced in over 6 years. Regalia not normally produced, on just a regular basis is based on like it's produced on a need or whatever, however the king's feeling, like it's whatever's going on at that time. So with that being said, this is the fight for the first regalia, and it comes down to Margo and Drell. So they end up fighting in the arena. They're both from the same school, and Margo ends up winning. And he's like, man, if this happened 6 months ago, I would have won. I would have had a chance to be a hero. But he did not because, again, he's training him. So he trained him up and trained him to the best of his ability. Now Margo is better than him. So that's why he's probably saying, man, if only it was 6 months earlier. The king bestows a name and a title upon Margo. So Margo, so I guess people are normally born with one name only. And then, if you're bestowed a name and a title, so that then that name can carry over. So he was bestowed the name Glenfall. So this is where Alicia Glenfall gets her name, because again, she takes after her father, but he was Margo. It became Margo Glenfall with the title Swordmaster. He is the best swordmaster in the area, I guess, as far as everything is concerned. He's deserving of the title hero. So he ends up getting the regalia, and we see that it's the same sword that Drell currently has. So it's like, how do we get to this point? And we know Margo wasn't like taken out for the sword because we saw Margo was still living a life and kind of doing whatever. So what happened? So basically, we see that the sword must be refined. And this is what we're talking. The sword must be refined. So the first beast you fell with this sword, this will absorb the essence of that to refine itself. So if you want this sword to refine itself, higher up in strength, you need to kill a worthy opponent. So just killing some little minions, some doing some ad clearing and stuff like that, yeah, no, it's not gonna do it. You got to take out a big target. So with all this being said, Margo has aspirations to defeat the Dark Lord. He decides he's gonna go after a northern dragon, which Drell is shocked. He's like, "Why are you going after? Like, are you out of your mind? Like, you're starting that big? Like, we got to do it. We got to do something big to make this work." So we got to put together a team. It's like no one has seen a Dark Lord beast, or probably much less anything else, like over 1,000 years. And you want to go out there hunting for it? And he's loud, and he's like, "No, like that's ridiculous." Margo's like, "Look, we got to do it. We have to go forth and make sure that we refine this sword to the best of its ability." So with that being said, they end up trying to get together a team. They end up running into a group of hooded guys, like three of them. Supposedly, maybe magicians. They're kind of talking a little bit about magic, but in this day and age, no one really knows about magic like that. Like it's a little bit more common in our current story, but in the past, it wasn't as common. So they have little things about the magic that they're kind of speaking of, but not much else. So they end up getting themselves set up and they go after the dragons. So they're basically going to fight, and their entire team gets taken out. So it's just them two, Drell and Margo. And Margo's like, use the Rising Dragon to propel me forward, or propel me up, actually. So Rising Dragon sends him straight up into the air. He basically nails the dragon to ground it. Grounds the dragon, proceeds to fight the dragon. And this is where the story is interesting because the entire time he's fighting the dragon, like he is working this dragon over when he gets him on the ground. Like he is handling business. And as soon as he gets ready to go for the final blow, like moving in for the final blow, he slips on a pebble. He falters on a pebble in the snow, and the dragon takes his leg. Every hope he had of being a hero, every chance he had of being a hero is gone. There's nothing that he can do. He knows it as soon as it happens. So as soon as it happens, he tosses the sword into the ground near Drell and says, "Now it's your turn. Do it." So before Drell even knew what was going on, he had the sword, and bam, he took the dragon's head off. Now in this process, we see the stomp happening on Margo, so he gets crushed, more or less. But we know that he had Alicia, so he's not done, but he is probably severely injured in that point to where he's done now to this. With that being said, he ends up absorbing, like the sword naturally starts to absorb the creature that was killed, and it's basically absorbing the dragon essence. And then as we see him finish absorbing, we see a massive red foot with claws behind him. So it's like his body is like 5 thick of him. So at that, and this is just like a foot. So he sees it, he like feels something, and we hear something speak, says, "So it is yours." And then Drell awakens. Looked like he was, it looked like he was taken out because there's a massive blood spot looking like he was smashed. The massive blood spot is in a footprint, so it looks like he was crushed and then revived. So I'm thinking that he was crushed in an instant and then filled with this Dark Lord, Ichor, to cause him to stay alive. And he's going to utilize him or speak to him through his head and the voice and stuff, because that's what he kind of mentions, the voice in his head, kind of in his being, kind of telling him what to do. So that's where I think it all comes from. And I don't know if he knew it at the time, so but I think he learned about it as time went on to some degree. So yeah, he ends up, going back to scrapping, and he ends up. We see that the creature, we really quick got a shot of its eyes, and the eyes are very similar to the eyes that Drell has. I think that they were red and yellow on one person, and then maybe like red and green on the other, on like the creature. Can't remember exactly, but we know that's the same eyes more or less. So he ends up basically summoning a dead dragon. So it's just dead dragon's bones more or less come together and attack Alicia and send her flying. She's got a broken left, like it's literally snapped right here, broken left forearm, and her right knee is shattered. But because of the Dark Ichor, she's able to pull herself back together, but she's knocked several, meters away, and she's down for a second trying to recover. And Drell flies off, looks like towards the forge. When he flies off towards the forge, we see she's like, I gotta tell Clint what's going on. So she mentally tries to contact Clint, and he's like, hey, hold your tongue. I got stuff going on here. It looks like the headless king here is about to throw the baby into the furnace. And I'm kind of curious to see what happens. It's like, Clint, you is a wild one. And that's where the episode ends. So I'm like, yo, this was pretty freaking good. Um, I don't know what's gonna happen right now. Like, this is wild. So I don't know if the king's headless bodies is done by some magic. Like, what's going on with this? We got Drell about to show up to the forge. Baby's about to be thrown in the forge like Luna. Oh, hope not. Freaking, but Luna's there. Nellaru's knocked out. Alicia's trying to, she got to get up and get moving. We got freaking, Rhodes on the way with Gart. So it's like, and Tala ain't done much, nothing. But her hammer, did it hit the sword or not? We don't know. So can there be some damage to the sword at some point where it starts chipping or breaking? I don't know. It's kind of a wait and see, but I'm enjoying the show. Happy with the show. Keep watching. Make sure you hit that love or subscribe button to stay tuned to all the stuff. It was Dragon Con this week, so a little slow on kind of getting everything out, but I will get everything caught up. I appreciate each and every one of y'all as always. I will catch y'all in the next one. Later.